What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you had a great Father's Day. Naughty Dog also wanted to send some Father's Day love out there to everybody, and they did so with a tweet of Joel playing his guitar for his adopted daughter, Ellie. It would have been a very, very nice, noble little tweet if it wasn't for what happened to Joel in the first 2 hours of Last of Us 2. Spoilers, in case you don't know. A little pause there for you in case you want to skip it. Joel, of course, meets the end of his life in that game via a 9-iron from everyone's favorite GameStop protagonist, Abby. So, probably not the best tweet to send out. Of course, they've been trying to mislead people with Joel for a while, which is something we're going to talk about. There's a couple topics that dropped over the weekend I want to hit in this video. But I wanted to start here because this one was kind of maybe, what's that saying, a little maybe too soon. They, of course, got roasted very, very hard in the comments, which you would imagine was going to happen. So IGN also got in on the fun, posting this tweet. IGN, of course, going to follow whatever lead Naughty Dog gives them because IGN is a bootlicking company. Neil Druckmann says, drop down and give my shoes a good shining. Everybody that works at IGN will line up quickly and do what they can to get those shoes of Neil's shining real good. They're a disgrace to games journalism, and I'm waiting anxiously for the day they talk about their closing down, because I imagine it's going to happen. All of these websites like IGN are doing terrible right now, so I'm looking forward to that. They're a disgrace. So I talked about the stuff with Joel. This dropped over the weekend. This was kind of a big thing going on. Naughty Dog has misled The Last of Us fans with swapped models, and it would appear that there's a little bit more to what's been going on with the trailers for a while. I think one of the reasons that you're seeing a lot of these people get upset with this game, which we all knew was going to happen, is that Joel was very, very mistreated during the game. And it's funny, it looks like from what a lot of people have gathered, they've been misleading people with Joel quite a bit in the trailers, making it look like he's going to have a heavy presence in the game, which turned out not to be the true story, right? Like I said before, anyone that's played this knows within the first 2 hours, Joel meets an untimely end with a golf club. So it's interesting that, they make it look like he's a heavy part of the game because they know people love him, and then they have him get an untimely death. It's a little misleading what they did. And it was done intentionally because they want the game to sell. And it sold very, very well. As you can see, the misinformation did work for them. The Last of Us 2 smashes sales records, UK charts. And we knew it was going to sell, right? That's not a surprise. I've said in videos, it's going to sell. It's not going to have a big misstep. The first 2 weeks of this game, you're going to see a lot of sales for it. However, what I'm interested in is the long-term sales. I think this game, and it's unfortunate because we won't be able to get a real answer to this because unlike the first Last of Us, digital wasn't quite where it is now. Digital is very big right now, even on consoles. It's not just on PCs. I would be willing to place a bet and say that even people with PlayStations and Xboxes as their primary gaming systems are probably mostly buying digital games. And I know that's not everybody, but I think digital is doing very well. It's one of the reasons that GameStop has been whining and losing money, because people aren't going there anymore. They're just buying it digitally. It's just kind of where games are going to go. And I know that that's a conversation to have, but it's just that's where things are going. Digital. Everything is going digital. I don't like it. Trust me. I have tons of physical movies. I love having physical copies of things, but we can't stop it. It is what it is. So the other side of that, though, is we're never going to get the digital sales for really any of these games. That's something that's going to get lost. And, how games are actually selling, what is their actual sales, we're not going to get that. But it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that The Last of Us 2 is smashing records. However, I wonder how long will that last? How long will that game keep selling? Because, Last of Us 1 went from PS3 to PS4, and that PS4 version still did very well. I wonder, you put a Last of Us Part 2 on PS5, how well does that sell? A remastered version of that game. It'd be an interesting thing to see. I do think this game is going to have a large drop-off. I do. But for now, it's selling very well, and I'm not shocked. I don't think anybody is. It's had a very big one. The Last of Us Part 2 is comfortably bigger than its PS3 predecessor, with launch sales 76% higher, although it's worth noting that the PlayStation 4 is more popular console than PS3, which is true. I think that's a fair point. I was a little shocked by this list. Check out this list. Grand Theft Auto 5 is still on this list. How many people are still buying this game all the time? Doesn't everybody have it by now? Is there anybody left that doesn't have this game? Blows my mind. I feel like that's probably always on the list. But anyway, let's move on to the final thing I wanted to talk about, which has to do with Metacritic scores. So, as you can see here, the user score is still growing. We're at 3.8% user score here. The mixed scores have been going up as more people are now completing the game. We're seeing more people come over here and talk about it. I do think that this is going to rise up. I said a 6 before. I think a 5 will probably be where this levels out. I do think that. I think a lot of people are going to have mixed reactions to this game because from what I've gathered, the gameplay is good, but the story is trash, which we all knew was going to be the problem for this game. So I expect those mixed scores to be a little bit more prevalent. We'll see what happens. But still, a lot of people very upset about this game. And at this point, I don't think you can fairly say that people are just going on here and giving it bad reviews. I think people that are coming here and reviewing this game for sure now have probably beaten it and are a little bit disappointed. However, what's the problem here? So the Access Media has been having a big fit about this. They're, of course, referring to the 31,000 bad reviews for the game. Of course, the 15,000 positive reviews, those aren't a problem because, I guarantee you there's quite a few thousand people that probably just came and gave it a positive review, which, has to do with both sides arguing over this game. That's not the problem, though. The problem is the 31,000 negative scores. Of course, that's the real problem. So one big narrative that's been going on with these people now is like Kotaku here. The Last of Us Part 2's Metacritic page shows how broken numerical scores are. That's the big thing that they're trying to do now. Get rid of user scores. And this is a narrative that Access Media has been pushing for a while. Because one, they don't want you to really have a voice, number one. They want to be your voice. That's been the case for the longest time, and it's the reason why they want to get rid of it. Okay, they're the trusted people. They're the middlemen. They're the only ones that should be able to really discuss and give a game any kind of authentic value to the gamer and to the consumer. They don't like it that you can go on there and say how you feel about a game or a movie or how you're being treated or why you don't like this or your frustrations. You need to go through them, and of course, they don't really have your best interests at heart. They really don't. So the big call now is to get rid of the user scores. And I'm going to tell you, this can be effective because they have gotten Rotten Tomatoes to bend the knee. Rotten Tomatoes has bent the knee on user scores. In fact, they drastically changed how you were allowed to review movies. Captain Marvel, for example, they changed how that was done. The way that they did things with Captain Marvel. YouTube did for sure. YouTube actually changed It was either Brie Larson or Captain Marvel to news, so only qualified authorities had the ability to discuss it and show up at the top of the results. And they've also done it for Doctor Who. Doctor Who, the latest season with the female doctor, they've erased the scores to that show twice because the review bombs were so bad for it. And I don't think that those were review bombs. I think that there's a large, very, very large portion of that fan base that is very, very upset. And they went on there and they voiced how they felt. So they would reset the score, and then everyone would go back in there and either rewrite their review, or they were still getting flooded with people on there talking about their disappointment in the series. And they couldn't stop it. Now, the last time I checked, I think they've stopped. But they tried to do that twice. They ended up making things worse because they got rid of the positive scores. And a lot of the people that wrote positive scores, they weren't coming back. So the rating was actually getting worse. It was very interesting. But my point is, if they make enough calls for this, Metacritic may or may not eventually bend the knee and get rid of or change the way user scores are handled. It could happen for sure. Like I said, Rotten Tomatoes has done it, and I don't know why Metacritic wouldn't follow through. But at the end of the day, I don't think they'll get rid of them. But I could see them resetting Last of Us Part 2's user scores. Okay, well, we'll just reset it, which would be funny because I guarantee you the exact same thing that happened with Doctor Who would happen with this. Everybody will go back and they'll redo their deleted review, and you're going to have such a flood of people that are upset about this game coming in here and hitting it because they were lied to by Naughty Dog and deceived, and they're going to go write a bad review. And I don't think there'll be as many positive reviews because a lot of those 15,000 people that gave the game a positive review were trying to combat the people that were giving it a negative review, just going in there and doing it. So they're doing the same thing, and they're kind of fighting. A lot of those people aren't going to come back, which would make that user score get even worse. You could see it drop to a 1. So I wonder if they'll learn from that or not. But anyway, this is what's going on. This is where we are with the game. Bad tweets, user scores got to go. And, of course, the deception with Joel in the trailer to mislead people so they would still run out and buy the game. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this. I'd like to see your comments on all of this. What do you guys think? Do you think that they misled people with Joel? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the game selling and being a hit? How do you feel about them trying to get rid of user reviews? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Also, throw a like up, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.